I love Java, sweet and hot. Whoop, Mr. Mojo, I'm a pumpkin pie.
Welcome to Fueled by Death Show. Hey, it's not just a podcast anymore. Get ready, the show's about to begin.
Welcome, everybody. It's that time again. It's Fueled by Death Show, and boy, are we excited that you're going to be here with us.
Don't talk for me, Jeff.
Okay,
You
I'm
don't-
excited.
You don't know how excited I am.
Oh, I'm excited, but you're more excited.
That's not what I said. You're assuming things again.
We have no idea how D-Man feels about any of this, but
I don't plan on telling anybody. I'm keeping this shit to myself. Everybody's telling everybody how they're feeling on Twitters and such, but
Twitters and such.
We're
you
keeping
sound
it-
like a
we're-
50-year-old man.
we're keeping it in. So this 50-year-old man is keeping it inside.
Okay.
Bottled up to explode one day upon all of you here during this show.
Yikes. Let's start this off, though. I am the Incredible Jeff.
And I am the amazing D-Man.
And if this is your first time joining the show, here's the deal. We try to give away a mug every single show. If you're watching it live on Wednesday, this show's no different. We're giving away an undying love mug. Look at this mug. Like, the glaze kind of got all sucked into the green, so it's like this slimy monster glaze on top of the green.
I feel like it has a unique shape, too. It's a little bit more narrow than the other mugs that I've seen from this
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
Because, you know what? They're fucking handmade at Deneen.
I love not only Deneen pottery mugs, but boy, do I love this undying mug. Undying love mug. There we go. That's the one.
He's too excited.
I'm too excited.
See, this is why I don't get too excited. This is why I keep it bottled up.
All you got to do is share this episode if you're watching it live and drop a comment in those comments. Join the conversation. One lucky comment at the very end of the show will be picked, and we'll get this mug. D-Man and myself will sign it and send it right out to you. I'm very, very excited to send it out.
Relax,
Okay,
dude.
I'm going to relax. I will relax if you guys follow us on social media. It's very easy to do. I am at Jeff Wish Coffee.
And you can find me at Death Wish Dustin.
And you can follow the show now across all platforms at Fueled by Deathcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we'd love it if you followed us over there as well. Speaking of social media, like we've been probably shoving down your throats for the last couple months, if you're not using social media correctly, you need to start. And by correctly, I mean follow Christian Slater.
We don't even know why. We just know it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the only thing to do.
It feels right in my heart.
I mean, it's not even an act of charity. It's an act of being a decent human being.
It's the truth. And every week on the
It's not
show,
the truth.
it is the truth. Every week on the show, we've actually been taking a little time and running down throughout his incredible career, because Christian Slater
Prestigious.
has had an incredible career. And
Prestigious.
I took one this week where he's not a main character at all, but he does still round out the cast and is part of this movie, Star Trek VI, Undiscovered Country. Now, we were talking before we started recording, and you don't believe you've ever even seen this one.
Nope, totally missed this one.
Now, you are a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, relatively. I'm not
You are
crazy
but
about it.
If you were to say you were a fan, though, I would peg you as a Next Generation fan
Easy.
over.
Oh, yeah. That's what I grew up on. Jean-Luc Picard's my homeboy.
Right. Star Trek VI is the last major motion picture that was made with Kirk and his original crew.
Okay.
Whereas the next movie, which was called Generations, had Kirk and his crew and also Picard and everybody from
Right.
Next
I
Generation.
faintly remember that
Yeah,
one, but I did watch that one.
That kind of bridged the gap. But in this movie, Christian Slater plays an ensign on Captain Sulu's ship, and I have a clip, really short, without getting in trouble, that I can play for you right here.
A what?
Well, apparently, they're refusing to acknowledge signal to return to space dock, sir.
You know, I think if I should say it this way: the Star Trek cards would be played right if they make Christian Slater the new Kirk.
Oh.
He
Or
could
just
do
a
it,
new
right?
captain all together. Maybe not
Yeah.
Kirk. Just
Yeah.
like, literally Captain Christian Slater.
They don't even have to change his name.
Ooh, and the name of the ship is the Slater, the USS Slater.
I got a better idea. This whole Star Force thing should be headed off by Christian Slater. He should be the real first captain to our Star Force.
So in the same vein that
Space
we went,
Force.
in the same vein that we went and found Bruce Willis to save us in Armageddon, we're going to Christian Slater to save us in Space Force.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in for it. But yeah, if you guys hadn't seen this Star Trek movie, it's one of the lesser received ones. Star Trek V really got a bad rap. It wasn't really written well or acted well, and so people were kind of like on the outs on Star Trek, but they needed to come out with Star Trek 6 to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the franchise. So they kind of pushed it through. It was a low budget, and the premise is that Kirk and McCoy are sent to the Klingon homeworld to broker peace between the Federation and the Klingons, but are basically wrongfully imprisoned for assassinating the leader of the Klingons. And so then obviously it's up to everybody else to come and try and save them.
Right.
And Sulu is in command of his own ship at this time, and it's a great ship because one of the commanders is freaking Christian Slater. So obviously it's probably the best running ship in the galaxy.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. So it was in his list of movies he's been in, and even me, as a fan, I was like, he was in Star Trek 6.
Yeah, no,
I had
that
to look at
surprised
that
me,
clip
too.
and go, oh yeah, he really was in that
Yeah.
movie. Yeah. So
He was the inspiration for Will Wheaton later on. That's true. It's true. I read that somewhere just
in
now.
reality, after Christian Slater was born, they were like, we're going to birth another one.
Mary Wheaton, Will Wheaton's mother, took one look at Christian Slater and said, I need to make one of those. And then came out with Will Wheaton.
I love it. I love all of it. Oh my God. So another person that we love on this show that we have to talk about every single week because we just love him to death is the voice of death himself, Brock Powell.
BrockFox.com.
Follow him across all social media at BrockFox, and you can see him post about all the cool stuff he's getting into. In fact, he just was the red carpet host at the Annie Awards just this past week, which is the annual awards that honor everybody in animation. And so he got to talk with all of the people who are on the one side of it, doing all the drawings and animation, on the other side of it, like his side, doing all the voices and embodying the characters. So.
Well, with somebody like Brock, all you have to do is give him a microphone and show him where to be, and he'll start talking to everybody.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys.
One of the best pictures he posted was he just captioned it. If I can find it, I'll put it up here. He just captioned it just a couple of hams, and it was him and John Ratzenberger from Cheers, but also the voice of Ham from Toy Story. And it just was adorable, like the two of them together.
Nice.
But yeah, so, we love Brock, and we hope that you guys really go and follow him. I do want to take a second and remind you guys that every Thursday, the Fueled by Death Cast podcast comes out across all podcast platforms. Yes, you can find it right on deathwishcoffee.com, but it's also on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Music, iHeartRadio, 1,000 others probably that I'm not even thinking of, wherever you like to listen to podcasts. It's also in video format on YouTube. And this is our weekly podcast where we talk to a special guest every single week about what they do and what fuels them to do it. And I would love it if you guys are listening to the show, or if you're just discovering the podcast for the first time, if you go to your favorite podcast listening, app, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or whatever, and rate and review the show. It really helps us get better visibility, more guests, more viewers and listeners, and it's just, we want to hear what you guys are thinking anyways. So, if you can take a second and leave us a review, give us a rating, it would be greatly appreciated. Speaking of podcasts, I also want to take a second and shout out some of our friends in the podcast industry, one being our good friend Dave Solo. He's been on this show before. We love Dave. He has 2 awesome podcast that he puts out, one every single month called The Pop 10. He records right in Universal Studios Orlando, and he runs down 10 awesome pop culture things that happened that month. He has special guests on there. One episode he actually had us as guest hosts.
The most special guest.
Yes.
By the way, Dave Solo, if you're listening, I fucking miss you, bro.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
are you at? We need to hang soon.
We do.
He used to be at all the
Walker Stalkers.
But he's not around there anymore, and my heart has holes in it.
But we love him because he's not around at the Walker Stalkers because he's doing so much more with Universal Studios.
Yeah, well, good.
He's
yeah.
the guy who's in the video being like, come, let me whisk you away to Universal Studios.
But he does it way better than that.
Yeah.
I promise.
That's why I'm not. That's why they didn't hire me. They hired Dave. But Dave also comes out with a podcast called Walker Nation, which, so exactly like it sounds, is a lot about The Walking Dead. And him and his co-host talk about new episodes, past episodes, and their love of the horror genre. So if that's what you love, you definitely want to tune into that. Another friend of the show and a friend in the podcast world just breaking into it is Ricky Rackman. You might remember Ricky as the host of MTV's Headbangers Ball and also the owner of the infamous Cat House. One of his podcasts is now the Cat House Hollywood podcast, where he, every other week, regales an incredible story about a single night at that infamous club. Episode 3 just came out, and it was a doozy. It was about the feud between Axl Rose and Vince Neil that actually started at the Cat House, and he had some of them on there talking about it.
Was it over a girl?
Yeah.
I knew it. It's always over a girl, right?
Lots of girls.
Dudes can't keep their heads together when it comes to girls.
No,
It's
and
just-
and the Cat House was full of women. And
I think that's why they called it the Cat House,
yeah.
right?
Speaking of women, another podcast that Ricky's got is 19 Minutes with Ricky and Leah, and that's his podcast with Leah Vendetta. And they have a lot of fun on the episode, just shooting the shit and having a good time. And the third podcast that he's coming out with isn't even out yet. It's called One Foot in the Gutter, and it's going to be a much longer form, kind of interview based, like Fueled by Deathcast, where he's going to have special guests on and just talk to them about what they do, which is going to be a lot of fun. Finally, I want to throw it out to friend of the show, friend of Death Wish Coffee, and one of the coolest podcasts out there, especially if you love hip-hop music, Mr. Throwback Thursday. Jamie and Bill bring the hip-hop every single week. They've been doing it for a hell of a lot longer than we have. We love those guys. And stick around in the show, guys, because you're going to see them because they're the guests on this week's podcast.
Oh, shit.
Coming up. And not only that, we got all sorts of awesome coming up on the show. We got brand new merchandise and brand new coffee that's coming out soon from Death Wish Coffee that we're going to talk about on the update.
Oh, I heard something about brand new chocolate, too, perhaps.
That's coming.
Ooh.
Also, on the roast, we're doing the first time ever a 2-part roast. We're going to roast Valentine's Day for
thank
all
God.
you lovebirds out there.
Thank
This
God.
is part 1 of 2 on this week's episode. Plus, you're going to get a lot more fun. We're going to have some fun stuff from Mr. Throwback Thursday and some really fun science coming up next.
Secret code unlocked. Discount of death.
Oh, shit, it's that time again. Tell your mom, tell your mom's friend, tell your neighbors, tell your cousins. Shit, just tell yourself because we're giving away a 12% discount code on deathwishcoffee.com that's running all the time. It's discount of death. But if you're feeling a little bit randy, you can use discount of Jeff because we love Jeff so much. The seven of you people who did use it, I'm looking at you. You guys are clever. I like it.
We see you. There is discount of death for 12% off everything on Death Wish Coffee. Every single purchase you make on deathwishcoffee.com, 12% off. It's such a good deal. But yes, we did make the warring code discount of Jeff. And I'd love it if more of you use that. So get on it. Discounted Jeff. Also, 12% off of every purchase. Deathwishcoffee.com. It's that easy.
Science!
All right, D-Man. So science this week. First of all, I got to shout out our amazing customer service manager, Caden, who gave me this for Christmas.
Oh, was it Secret Santa gift?
Yep.
Nice.
I love this shirt so much.
That's good.
I've actually been wearing it a lot this winter. It's been under, 10 layers of clothing.
It's nice today, though.
Knock on wood, upstate New York.
You got to think it's probably 70 degrees warmer than it was last week.
Just last week, yeah.
It's crazy. The
is
shit that we
crazy.
deal with. That's why we get sick so much, man.
Science. So, don't think we're not going to go to space. I do have some space news at the end of our science segment. But first, I've got something really random and weird on science. Merlin the Wizard.
I love the stories of Merlin and King Arthur and all that shit. Always gets my juices flowing. I even love that like stupid Merlin series. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, no, it was terrible.
I knew it was terrible, but I love Merlin so much that I was like, I'm dealing with it.
So, previously unknown tales of Merlin have been discovered. which is really cool. So an academic by the name of Michael Richardson was looking through 16th century books in the University of Bristol and uncovered 7 handwritten parchment fragments, and upon closer inspection recognized some legendary names, including Merlin. And this is an actual photo of one of those pieces of parchment. And you can clearly see he's pointing to the name Merlin.
Look, there's a word. There's Merlin.
So he quickly
real.
contacted Leah Tether, the president of the International Arthurian Society, to see if his finds were true and if they were compelling at all. Tether went on to say, these fragments of the story of Merlin are a wonderfully exciting find, which may have implications for the study not just of this text, but also of other related and later texts that have shaped our modern understanding of the Arthurian legend. Now, I just want to preface this by saying the Arthurian legend, the legend of King Arthur and his vizier Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table, is hotly debated because there is evidence that some of these people were actual people that existed.
Right.
But a lot of the stories surrounding them have now become legend. The Sword in the Stone, the Wizard Merlin,
The Lady of the Lake.
the Lady of the Lake, the Knights of the Round Table, and their quests, to do these types
and
of
we've
things.
fantasticized.
Yeah, with it romanticized.
Romanticized
Yes.
and Hollywoodized this story
Yeah.
over and over and over again to the point where it's gotten convoluted and blurry as to what these legends actually are.
Right. Tether goes on to say, time and research will reveal what further secrets about the legends of Arthur, Merlin, and the Holy Grail that these fragments might hold. Now, as the story goes, from what we know from texts, ancient texts that we've, that have talked about Arthur and Merlin before these that we found, that Arthur, Merlin, Gawain, and other knights are set preparing battle against Lancelot's father's sworn enemy, King Claudius. The tale then goes on to describe Merlin's strategizing of the attack, followed by a long description of the battle where at one point Merlin motivates the troops, then leads the charge with Sir Kay's special dragon standard, one that breathes real fire. Arthur wins the battle in the end. Now, a standard is the large pole
flag.
with the flag on it. The legend is that the dragon Merlin used his magic on and would actually breathe fire. So he had a staff that actually shot fire at his enemies.
Interesting.
Which is crazy. Now, obviously, probably didn't happen.
Well, if you
but-
think about it, I mean, when we look at stories of wizards back in the day, these were just clever people that were great at taking advantage of the ignorance of their enemies.
Right.
So what if they were able to start a rumor that Arthur had this fire-breathing banner to get the enemy troops wondering and maybe nervous, and then actually coming up with a device that would make this seem real, which is not that difficult for somebody.
Have a guy with
technology.
a flaming arrow stand behind the thing and shoot the arrow. So it's like, oh shit, fire's coming out of this thing.
This is the kind of shit you could do before the internet was invented.
Oh, of course, yeah.
By Al Gore for Christian Slater.
Goodness gracious. Science. Researchers note that these newly revealed fragments depict longer, more detailed accounts of this story, and some small details and others much more glaring have been found. The texts are thought to come from the Vulgate cycle or Lancelot Grail cycle, old French texts dating back to the 13th century. It's believed that Sir Thomas Malory, the writer of the King Arthur's most famous account, used these texts as the main source for his work. All these fragments that they just found were found in books printed between 1494 and 1502. Before being sent to England, they were unbound. This style of binding these books indicates that they were likely first bound in the 16th century. And the way that in the early days of binding books like that, they would actually stick extra paper in them to make the bindings sturdier, to basically
bulk it
up a little bit. And that's these parchment that they found. It happened to be texts about the Arthurian legend that somebody was just like, this is just, extra crap. I'll just throw that in here, like
Weird.
so weird, but it's so cool that we found, and they've been sitting in a library for hundreds of years and nobody's found them.
Huh.
It's really, really interesting, and it just gets your imagination flowing. You
Yeah.
know? But it's at its core, it's archaeology. Because again, people were writing these things down, even if a lot of it is not reality, like you said. Some of it is, it's all birthed from something.
And even if none of it's reality, say it's all made up, it's still, what are they pulling from for influences?
Right. Yeah.
It kind of gives us an idea of how people were thinking back then.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So I thought that was something neat, something different for our science segment. That,
It's nice to switch it up from
Yeah.
space and science, but let's get into space and science.
Space, yeah. There's always something new to talk about in space, and this is kind of neat. So, a terrestrial meteorite was found on the moon, and this isn't recent. This was way back in the day they found this. The lunar rock sample collected by Apollo 14 astronauts in 1971 contains traces of minerals with a chemical composition common to Earth and very unusual for the moon. And this is according to research led by Dr. Jeremy Bellucci from the Swedish Museum of Natural History. The rock may originally be from Earth, but was thrown into space when an asteroid struck our planet maybe about 4 billion years ago. The two moon-exploring crewmen of Apollo 14 photographed and collected the large rock pictured just above the exact center of this photograph. And basically, this was added to a lot of the other material that came back from that mission, from Apollo 14. And it's taken us this long to really sift through all of that.
That's
stuff,
intense.
you know?
Yeah, I'm sure they grabbed a lot. I'm sure they grabbed whatever they could, and we're just still going through it all.
Yeah. Its scientific name, for those of you wondering, even though you're not, is Lunar Breccia 14321. It basically... They took the photo of it, they took this rock, and now they're finding out that the granite that it's being comprised of is actually terrestrial origin. It's actually from Earth and not from the moon. Dr. Bellucci and other professors said the 1.8 gram fragment showed mineralogy similar to that of granite, which is extremely rare on the moon but common on Earth, and it also contains quartz, which is even more unusual to find on the moon.
Yeah, because you don't have that volcanic reactions happening on the moon, at least not like it does on Earth.
Right. It is an extraordinary find that helps paint a better picture of early Earth and the bombardment that modified our planet during the dawn of life. That was added by team member Dr. David Kring. And then, so this relic, this rock, is basically a fragment of the past. It's
kind of like a time capsule.
Yeah, this is showing us the birth of our solar system.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this looking at the Kuiper Belt object, Ultima Thule.
Yeah.
Because that is also billions of years old, and we're looking at the birth of planets out
Yeah.
there. And it's the same kind of thing. We're finding these rocks, but it's interesting that this rock's we took this off the moon, 40 plus years ago, and just now we're able to extrapolate this data almost 48 years ago, which is crazy. So Apollo 14 was the third Apollo mission to land on the moon, launching January 31st, 1971, landing on the moon on February 5th, and returning to Earth on February 9th. So they're only on the moon for 2 days. That consisted of these three men: Commander Alan Shepard, who was the first American ever in space, and then Command Module Pilot Stuart Roosa and Lunar Module Pilot Edgar Mitchell. Alan and Mitchell were the fifth and sixth men ever to walk on the moon, respectively. And there's a picture of Alan right there with the American flag from Apollo 14. And this was the first time that the astronauts wore red stripes on their suits, so they were easily identified in photographs. This is a color-corrected photograph, But the black and white photographs, sometimes the suits, especially if the astronauts were far away, would get lost in the rocks.
That makes
so that
sense.
stripe would allow the cameras to kind of hone in on it a little bit better. Alan, not only being the first man in space, also gained fame for this mission because he hit 2 golf balls on the moon. And I have video of that from the moon, from the Apollo 14 mission right here.
Houston, while you're looking that up, you might recognize what I have in my hand as the handle for the contingency sample return. It just so happens to have a Inuit 6-iron on the bottom of it. In my left hand, I have a little white pellet that's familiar to millions of Americans. Drop it down. Unfortunately, the scissors so stiff I can't do this with 2 hands, but I'm going to try a little sand trap shot here. I got more dirt than ball this time. Some more dirt than ball. Here we go again. It looked like a slice to me, Al. There we go. Ready to die. One more. Miles and miles and miles.
Wow.
That's pretty cool,
Yeah,
right?
That's weird.
Like, I mean, he got to smuggle a 6-iron up there and hit a couple golf balls. I think that's, hey, if you're going to go to the moon, you got to do something crazy like that.
I hope some aliens flying around on a UFO right now and that golf ball is just hitting their windshield and cracking
What is
it.
Titleist?
They're going to land on Earth. Bring me your leader of Titleist.
Oh, man. Pretty
have
great,
words
though.
with him.
And we're still learning stuff from this incredible mission, Apollo 14, back in 1971.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
Good, good. It is a fully operational Death Star of the week.
All right, guys. So Death Star of the Week this time. I'm going to start it like normal, but we're going to go different. First of all, if you are not a fan or a friend of the official Death Wish Coffee Company community page over on Facebook, get on it because it is a community of 4,000 strong of people who love coffee, who love Death Wish, and just it's a great community of people. You definitely want to be a part of it. These two guys are not only a part of that community, they are guests on Fueled by Deathcast, episode 112, coming out tomorrow. It is Jamie and Bill from Mr. Throwback Thursday. And so in lieu of the Death Star of the Week, I not only wanted them to be the guests on the podcast, I wanted to feature them a little bit here. So I want to give you guys, if you've never checked out Mr. Throwback Thursday, here's a crash course in just how awesome this podcast really is. Here you go.
It's not just any day. It's Mr. Throwback Thursday.
Kids want to get on and shit.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
I'll be damned.
At the count of 3, I want y'all to tell me the name of my DJ. 1, 2, 3.
And now, here's your hosts, Bill Winters and Mr. Throwback Thursday himself, Jamie Robinson.
Welcome to Mr. Throwback Thursday. Very, very important week for us here this week. Why? Is it because it's episode 260? Well, that's an impressive number.
It is.
But no, that's not what I'm talking about. The more impressive number is 5.
5 is a magic number. No, it's not.
No. 5 is our age now.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 5th anniversary show of Mr. Throwback Thursday, episode 260. This marks exactly 5 years to the week that we first signed on and had no idea what we were doing. And we've improved a little bit since then, I would think.
We know a couple of things that we're doing. Not that we're doing them well, but we know what we're doing, and we just choose not to fix it.
And as has been for 99% of the episodes in this show. It's your two favorite idiots. Bill is in New York. Jamie is down in Virginia. Happy anniversary, brother.
And to you, my friend.
Thank you. So hard to believe that 5 years ago we had this idea. We had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah. We were on Talk Shoe as our host.
And we were told we were going to run out of material in 5 weeks. 5. So
5 is a magic
number. This is the King Kong Bundy episode.
Not the Booker T? Not the Booker T?
5 times. 5 times. Could be. King Kong Bundy, Booker T, and Big E. Big E in the 5 thing for a while too, but
welcome back to the show.
Okay, guys. So if you haven't yet, now's a perfect time to do it. If you're watching the show live, make sure you share the show on Facebook and drop a comment in those comments. One lucky comment as soon as this show is over will be picked, and you're going to win this Undying Love mug. And I almost didn't want to give this away just because of how cool that glaze is.
Yeah, it's a really cool glaze.
It's like a ghost glaze.
Yeah.
Like the glaze is there, but it's so just slimy. It's
Jeff
so
has been
awesome.
talking about the glaze on this mug for the last 8 hours. So if you win this, it's really a treat. He's been painstakingly deciding on if he should give this one away or not.
Give it away.
You
So-
still might not get it if you win it.
You'll get
I'm
it.
just
You'll
kidding.
get it. One lucky winner. Demon and myself will sign the bottom and send it right out to you, and we'll pick that winner at the end of the show.
I smell a roast.
Does it smell like love?
It does smell like love.
What does love
so-
smell like? Ooh, let me tell you.
Baby, don't hurt me. Yes, it is that time of year. We are almost at the time of February, in the middle there, where everybody celebrates that holiday, Valentine's Day.
Are you celebrating it, Jeff?
Probably. But this is part 1 of 2. There's so much about Valentine's Day. I'm splitting this between this week's roast and next week's roast.
There's not enough roast for all this hate, so we're spreading it across.
This week, we're going to talk a little bit about the origin of Valentine's Day, because we all know the Hallmark holiday it has turned into. You know, buy a bunch of chocolates and hearts and give them to a loved one. And when you're in elementary school, all the weird little Valentines that you clip out of magazines and you give to all your friends and all this other stuff.
Wait, what about is this some 1920 shit again? What are you clipping out of magazines and giving to people, Jeff?
Like, I don't know. Whatever.
You can't tell me because you just made it up.
No, they used to have sheets of Valentines, like Snoopy or something, and they would come as a sheet in a magazine.
Oh,
and then you'd cut them all out and you'd get 12 to a sheet.
The little cards.
Yeah, and it would say to and from, and you'd write them out and you'd hand them to all your friends and stuff. The origins of this holiday, though, are a lot darker and probably a lot more bloody than you actually think.
I'm suddenly into it.
First up, the deity that is synonymous with Valentine's Day is that, obviously, of Cupid. In classical mythology, Cupid is the god of desire, erotic love, attraction, and affection. And most notably, in modern times, has been associated with Valentine's Day, even though Cupid existed way before this was ever even a thing.
Right.
He is often portrayed as the son of the love goddess Venus and the war god Mars. He is also known in Latin as Amor, which actually means love. His Greek counterpart is Eros, and although Eros is generally portrayed as a slender, winged youth in classical Greek art, during the Hellenistic period, he was increasingly portrayed as a chubby boy or cherub. That's where we got that from. And during this time is when he had the iconography of his bow and arrow, and if you got shot by his arrow, you would then desire whatever Cupid wanted you to desire. That was his power over you kind of thing. He was never really the main character in any kind of story. In classical mythology, he was always
he just showed up, did his thing.
Yeah, he was always manipulated by somebody. Like Venus would be like, Cupid, go do this, or Hades would be like, Cupid, do this for me, and so it was he was like that kind of thing. So, but then he got kind of roped into this whole holiday around love. But the holiday of Valentine's Day has its roots in ancient Rome. From February 13th to the 15th, the Romans celebrated the feast of Lupercalia. The men would sacrifice a goat and a dog and then whip women with the hides of the animals they'd just slain. Now, ancient times were different times, and women would actually line up in the town square to be whipped by these freshly slain hides by the men, because the belief would be that by being whipped by these hides, that would make them more fertile, and they would then give their husbands sons.
Did it work?
I don't know. Sure. Maybe. I don't know. The actual reason is because the emperor at the time didn't want his army to get married and settle down. He wanted them to remain warriors. So he created this feast where basically it would pair men and women off, and they'd have a couple days of debauchery and lovemaking and get it out of their system, and then they'd go back to war.
So it was a way to keep on breeding, but not have to tie your warriors down.
Right.
Interesting.
There was also, during this time, a matchmaking lottery where men would pick women's names out of a jar, and then they would be coupled for the rest of the festival. Sometimes this coupling would last. Sometimes they would actually be husband and wife after the fact.
Sounds kind of fun, except for the whipping part. It's a little weird.
Kind of weird. Emperor Claudius II actually executed 2 men, both named Valentine, on February 14th in different years in the 3rd century during this festival. Their martyrdom was actually honored later on by the Catholic Church with the celebration of St. Valentine's Day. Later, Pope Gelasius I actually screwed things up in the 5th century by combining St. Valentine's Day with the Roman feast of Lupercalia to expel these pagan rituals, but basically made it this, whereas the Catholic Church was trying to get it away from the hedonistic and the, the crazy sex-filled, festival, this Pope kind of merged the two and brought that back to the forefront. So he kind of muddled things up again, a little bit. But made it fun for everybody, I guess.
No whippings, but,
Yeah. As the years went on, the holiday grew sweeter. Both very celebrated authors Chaucer and Shakespeare romanticized the holiday in their work. Also, the idea of love. And handmade paper cards actually became the tokens du jour in the Middle Ages. And then eventually this made its way to the New World. And the Industrial Revolution ushered in factory-made cards in the 19th century, and then by 1913, a small company from Kansas City, Missouri called Hallmark Cards gained popularity by producing these Valentines for the February holiday.
So Hallmark's bread and butter was Valentine's.
Bread and butter.
That makes
Today,
sense.
it is a lot of bread and butter.
Yeah.
According to market research, just last year, Valentine's Day sales reached $17.6 billion and projected to reach over $18.5 billion this year.
That's
alone.
a lot of growth.
That is a lot of growth.
That's pretty intense.
And that is the commercialization, not just cards, but the gift buying and receiving, commercialization that we've got, the chocolate industry, the candy industry,
right?
All of that all together. But one of the most famous things surrounding Valentine's Day has nothing to do with love, and that is the Valentine's Day Massacre.
Well, it could be the love of killing.
Could be the love of killing. Do you know about the Valentine's
I don't. I'm very
Day
excited to learn about
Massacre?
This. I'm tucking
This
in,
is
Jeff.
Very, very famous because it deals, and I do apologize for the graphic nature of this.
Don't worry. The photos are so bad you could never tell.
But it deals with one of the bloodiest and greatest turf wars between mobsters back in the day that happened around Valentine's Day. 4 men dressed as police officers enter gangster Bugs Moran's headquarters at North Clark Street in Chicago. They line 7 of Moran's henchmen against the wall and shoot them to death. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, as it is now called, was the culmination of this war between Bugs Moran and his rival, Al Capone. George Bugs Moran, or Bugsy, was a career criminal who ran the North Side Gang in Chicago during the bootlegging era in the 20s, and he fought bitterly with Al Capone, who was known as Scarface. So if you've ever heard these terms, Bugsy or Scarface, that's these two guys. They were real guys. They were vying for control of this smuggling and traffic operations in Chicago. At that time, when Prohibition happened, the country thought we're going to do right by doing Prohibition.
We're going to clean things up.
It made it so worse, and that's why it only lasted a year. But during that year, these gang wars escalated tenfold because the amount of money you could make was incredible.
I mean, it's not like you're going to make drinking illegal and everybody's just going to stop drinking. They're going to find ways to do it, and criminals will find ways to give it to you.
Yeah. So
and instead of, businesses making money, gangsters make money.
Exactly.
That's usually how it goes with Prohibition.
Exactly. Throughout the 1920s, both survived several attempted murders. On one notorious occasion, Moran and his associates drove 6 cars past a hotel in Cicero, Illinois, where Capone and his associates were having lunch and showered the building with more than 1,000 bullets.
And he lived, huh?
And he lived.
God damn.
A $50,000 bounty on Capone's head was the final straw for the gangster. He ordered that Moran's gang be destroyed. On February 14th, a delivery of bootleg whiskey was expected at Moran's headquarters, but Moran was late and happened to see police officers entering his establishment. Moran waited outside, thinking that his gunmen inside were being arrested in a raid. However, the disguised assassins were actually killing the 7 men inside. So Moran, again, escaped being assassinated right there.
Just because he was late.
Just because he was late.
That's Capone right there, right?
This is Capone, yes. This is Bugsy Moran. The murdered men included Moran's best killers, Frank and Pete Goosenberg. Reportedly, this is my favorite part about this story, reportedly, Frank was still alive when the real police officers appeared on the scene. When asked who shot him, the mortally wounded Goosenberg kept his code of silence, responding, "No one. Nobody shot me," and then died. Literally dying from multiple gunshot wounds. Still never became a stool pigeon.
Wow.
Never ratted out anybody. That's the code of being a gangster right there.
That's intense.
That's intense. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre actually proved to be the last confrontation for both Capone and Moran. Capone was jailed in 1931, and Moran lost so many important men that he could no longer control his territory. On the 7th anniversary of this massacre, Jack McGurn, one of the Valentine's Day hitmen, killed him in a crowded bowling alley with a burst of machine gun fire. McGurn's killer remains unidentified, but it was likely Moran, though he was never charged with the murder. Moran was relegated to small-time robberies until he was sent to jail in 1946, and he died in federal prison of lung cancer in 1957. And famously, Al Capone went to jail on a technicality. They got him on tax evasion.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, one of the craziest, most successful gangsters out there, and he just didn't pay his taxes enough. Crazy. And that has a lot to do with Valentine's Day, which is nuts.
So how do we celebrate Valentine's Day now that we know this, Jeff?
I don't know, watch an awesome gangster movie maybe?
Ooh, I like that.
There's
I
some
like
really
that.
good ones out
Which
there.
one would you suggest?
Oh, man, I don't even, you know what? I don't know. There's some really good ones out there about Capone and Bugsy Moran.
There is some good ones.
I can't think of one off the top of my head that I would say over another one. I would say type in some good ones because you know what? Everybody's going to want to watch some lovey-dovey romantic comedy on Valentine's Day or whatever.
Screw that.
Why not watch a gangster movie on Valentine's Day?
Why not just binge Boardwalk Empire?
Ooh, good one.
Thanks.
Good one. I like that.
Reading all this and listening to all this reminds me of exactly Boardwalk Empire.
They drew a lot from this.
They portrayed it quite well because
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like this happens all the time in that show. It's a very fun show. And I suggest you watch it on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so, that's a little bit of the history and the bloody, dark origins surrounding the holiday of Valentine's Day. And next week, we'll be back with part 2 of this roast, talking about Valentine's Day all over the world.
I can't wait.
D-Man's Death Wish Update. Brought to you by Death Wish Coffee.
Okay, guys. So, we got something fun coming out tomorrow. I think we talked about this maybe right when the idea happened, but we haven't shown it at all. And you guys can buy it tomorrow. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that.
I just noticed something.
What's that?
He went with the same color
Yep.
on the tag as he did on the
Yep.
circle, this orangey red.
So
Very
the
cool looking.
Undying Love medallion on a T-shirt. A black T-shirt made in America, that nice soft T-shirt that is the same as our Death Wish coffee shirts, but with that awesome medallion. And Dustin is wearing a large just for but they again, they're going to fit just like the Death Wish coffee shirts. There's nothing on the back. We just wanted to showcase the awesome Frankenstein's Monster and Bride of Frankenstein. I'm so excited to get my very own as well. I ordered one. Did you order one?
Not yet.
Well, you will.
I will.
Yeah, I just love that image. It's so rad, and we wanted to do it on a shirt. We've been listening to you guys. We heard that a lot of you out there really like our mug medallion designs and wished we did more with them. Not just put them on a mug, but make shirts out of them, make stickers, make Christmas ornaments. So, it's getting sexy in here.
Valentine's Day.
But
Giving y'all a show.
So we've been thinking about it, and we want to do some more stuff with the medallions this year, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we're really excited to bring you that tomorrow on deathwishcoffee.com. Get your Undying Love T-shirt.
Jeff.
Yes.
You said just the tip.
Just the tip. Just for a second. And right around the corner, we're already sick and tired of talking about Valentine's Day. Right around the corner is our next favorite holiday, and that is St. Patrick's Day. Now, the last couple shows, we've shown you the awesome artwork that we're coming out with on our St. Patrick's Day mug, developed by incredible artist Scott Minzy. But that's not the only thing we come out with around St. Patrick's Day. I know you guys have been asking for it, so I got to let you know it's coming back. The Irish Cream Coffee.
Hot damn.
I'm so excited. This was my favorite coffee we came out with last year. This is a Barrel brand. And for those of you who might be new to the company and not know, a couple times a year, we try to do Barrel brand coffee. And we get whiskey or rum or bourbon barrels from local distillery, Albany Distilling Company. And we soak the green coffee beans in these barrels for a couple months. And then we roast the beans. So it roasts all of the alcohol off the beans, but they soak in some of those juices that are still there from the wood. And after we roast them, you get that taste.
It's pretty amazing how much flavor is left over after the roast.
So we add some I don't even know, what is it? Another type of chai are we adding in the Irish
No,
cream?
a couple of organically flavored
power beans.
Power beans.
Yeah,
right.
so
a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of vanilla in there. Give it that authentic taste. And man, we nailed in that recipe, and it does taste like an Irish coffee.
It really does taste like an Irish coffee, and it's so great. And not only did I love this coffee by itself last year, and again, this is our Barrel brand, so you'll only be able to get it in 8-ounce bags in whole bean. But it's also great paired with actual Death Wish. So if you want to cut it and do 2 parts Irish cream and 1 part Death Wish, and then grind that up, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I gotta say, in my experience with this stuff, it was pretty interesting. The first time I tried it, and pretty much any time I drink coffee, I put it through a Chemex.
Yes.
And I tried it, and I was like, oh, I guess I don't like this stuff. But it was weird that I then brought it to my sister's, and she had a drip machine there, and I threw it in there for her. Totally different experience. And it was incredible.
Oh.
Not saying that you'll like it one way or the other, but
try different options.
Yeah,
if you have the ability, try different ways.
It was pretty amazing from a drip machine. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it's, that's the fun part about coffee.
So this is our Barrel brand release. So that's a limited release of 8-ounce bags of whole bean coffee. So when this comes out, we'll have X amount of bags, and then they'll be gone. And we're going to release it in time for St. Patrick's Day. That's why we're letting you know now, because in a couple weeks, this will be released, so you'll be able to purchase it. It'll be able to be delivered to your door, so you'll be able to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with this coffee. But that's not all. We really have liked what we've been able to produce with Ethereal Confections. So we are coming out with a Barrel brand chocolate bar. And I wish this is the real packaging, and I will put the photo of this in the show so you can see it up close. I wish this was the real chocolate. This isn't even the real chocolate yet because they didn't have the coffee yet to make the chocolate. It's going to be the same type of bar that we release with our actual coffee, but this is going to have the Irish Cream Whiskey Barrel brand coffee on it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, these chocolatiers really know what the fuck they're doing. It's going to be next level.
They
good.
Just like they did with our coffee, they took these Irish Cream whiskey beans and paired the actual chocolate beans to these beans. So it's the perfect pairing of chocolate and Irish Cream whiskey. And this will be released, I believe, same day as the coffee, I believe.
Yeah, we're aiming for it, yeah.
Yeah, or right around there. So again, you'll be able to order these chocolate bars in time for St. Patrick's Day. That's a lot. That's really, really exciting. I can't wait to get my hands on those because I really like the chocolate bars that we've already released with the Death Wish in them.
Yeah.
I was eating one last night, and it was like late.
Oh,
and I was like, oh no.
Bad move.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. But it was so good. I almost couldn't stop. Finally, I wanted to bring up on the update a mystery. A big mystery box. Very soon, I'm going to say in the next month or two, we are going to release a mystery box.
Let me tell you what's in it.
No, I can't even tell you what's in it, but here's the breakdown. This mystery box is going to appear on our site, and you will be able to purchase this, and contained in the box will be a couple items that you've seen before, and one item out of 3 that are brand new things we've never done. Now, I can tell you 100% that this will not contain coffee or apparel. Okay? But some of this stuff is really cool, and you don't know what you're going to get until you order it. It's not going to be a high price point. It'll be very affordable, and it's going to, like I said, it's going to have some things in there that you've seen before that might be on the site right now or that we've had on the site in the past. And then there's 3 new pieces of merchandise, and 1 at random will be put in that mystery box.
Oh, shit.
Something we've never tried before. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think.
Like, it all stems from a couple years ago. We mistakenly put a test product on the site. We were testing out new ways to release products on our Shopify site. And so to do that, you have to create actual pages. And we had to create this page, so we just named it Test Product, I think it was. Test or whatever, right? And we were just seeing what it looked like. And it's all web design. It's all back-end stuff. It takes a lot to do that. I mean, you do that on the regular for your job.
Yeah.
When we created this, we didn't realize that you, the customer, could actually see this product. And before we knew it, a handful of people had already purchased this fake test product that didn't even exist.
You guys are crazy. We love you.
So, and one of our super fans out there, Jason Heath, can attest to this. That is where the test batch came into being.
So it just so happened to be that John Swedish was messing with some single origin coffees at the time. So we figured, hey, let's send this out, see what the customers think.
So if you've ever been on the official Death Wish Coffee Company community page and heard anybody asking for test batch, that's what they're asking for. And I'm not saying that we might not try that single origin coffee, that light roasty type of coffee down the road again. We might do that. But that isn't what this is. That's where this idea came from, was like, oh, wow, this mystery item that we didn't even promote. We didn't even know that people could see. Some of you guys were like, oh, my God, I gotta buy this mystery item. So we were like, wouldn't it be cool to actually create a mystery item with actual things in it?
Yeah.
So that's what we did. It's coming out in a couple months, and you guys will be able to get your hands on a mystery box from Death Wish Coffee. I think that's pretty cool.
It's pretty damn cool.
So that's it for the update this week. I want to thank you all for watching, sharing, and commenting on this show. We had a lot of fun doing it. And one final time, please tune in tomorrow for episode 112 of the podcast. Available wherever podcasts are found: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Music, iHeartRadio, and more, including deathwishcoffee.com and in full video on YouTube. And we got these guys on the show. We got Mr. Throwback Thursday, Jamie and Bill, from that incredible podcast all about the best hip-hop around. And it was really, really fun to talk to Jamie and Bill. We've been friends with them for a while now, and it was really great to just have them on as guests and pick their brain about podcasting, about hip-hop, and everything in between. And I have a sneak peek of tomorrow's episode for you guys right here.
I got a hold of Bill and said, hey, this is what I want to do. Want to do it? And he's like, well, it's kind of like what we do anyway. Because like when we get together, this is all we talk about. It's all we've ever talked about.
Yeah.
So it's a natural thing for us to sit there and go, ooh, this news article, did you see this? And we just tell everybody else about it now. But yeah, so every time we hit a milestone, like we just passed 250 episodes.
Congrats.
Thanks. We're going to hit 5 years in January.
Wow.
I always look to that guy and see what he's doing now and go, 6 half-hour episodes, man. So, you know, we're 2 hours a week. Every week we don't miss a week for 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a huge accolade. And you guys got in the game, you know, 5 years ago. You had to explain to people what the hell a podcast was.
Yeah.
Like you still do to some extent, but most people know what a podcast is now. But like 5 years ago, I wasn't even listening to podcasts.
No, people have at least heard the term now. Even if they're not listening to them or fully understand, they've heard the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then it wasn't really.
So wait, let me.
And to be honest with you, Mr. Throwback Thursday wasn't the original name of the show.
Oh, what was it?
It was Shell Toes and Kangos.
Oh,
okay.
There was, you know, okay, well now you're gonna start dealing with people with licensing and rights. I don't want to try to, so
yeah,
we checked that before we aired.
And he had started a page on Facebook called, you know, Mr. Throwback Thursday, where every Thursday he would just post old school videos, and people would post videos back and things like that. So he took the name, and that's what he said to me. He goes, I want to turn this into a podcast. Do you think we could do it? And I said, well, we can do anything. I don't know if it's going to be any good. And if you listen to the first 2 or 3 episodes, yeah, episode 1 is a chore to get through. It really is.
Everybody's got to start somewhere. Our early episodes are pretty terrible as well.
Yeah.
And this thing just,
yeah. Sorry.
And this thing just grew organically. I mean, I think our first episode was 38 minutes long.
Yep. Something like that.
And now we are, you know, between 1 hour and 45 and 2 hours every week. We've got a set schedule of what we do every week. We have a routine. We have our hip hop headlines. We have our Woo News, which kind of grew organically because there was one week where all the news was Wu-Tang.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I had said to him, I said, so this week it's just all Woo News. And he goes, I like that. Keep that in mind. So he started finding Wu-Tang articles, and that became the second segment of the show. And then we've always done the record reviews, the one and done and the record of the week. And the one and done doesn't necessarily mean one hit wonder. It just means, you know, one album that's commercially successful.
Yeah.
And then the record of the week can be anything. I mean, we've had some pretty obscure records of the week.
Yeah, one week we had Vanilla Ice as a one and done, and Vanilla Ice's record of the week with a completely different album.
So I'm really excited for that. Remember, guys, tune in tomorrow wherever you like to listen to podcasts or watch them on YouTube or on Facebook. And follow us as podcasts wherever you are, too. Leave us a review. Rate us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to us. It all helps us make this show better and better. And follow us on social media. It's real easy to do. I'm at Jeff Wish Coffee.
And I am at Death Wish Dustin.
And you can follow the entire show at Fueled by Deathcast across all platforms. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And thanks so much for joining us on the show again, guys. And we'll be back next week with a brand new show. Goodbye.
Cheers.